Do whatever you want. Just want you to know that.
F that. If Brett doesn't want to do business, then we need to do business for him.
So I guess that's the new WWE canon. Well, hello, guys. This is Chris Sledge Douglas from PRIXEL DERP, and you are watching our first edition of Then and Now. Basically, the mission of Then and Now is to take a look at wrestling games and see how they've changed. And, of course, here we have in the blue corner WWF Warzone, made in 1997 for the PS1. And on the opposite side here, which will be shown later, is, of course, WWE13. But, of course, we got Shawn Michaels here coming out to his DX entrance here. Whereas in WWE13, they pretty much had him stay at his more or less standard entrance here. Well, anyways, what's the point of this? Especially so late in the game, WWE13 has been around for quite a while now. Basically, with these new wrestling games, basically harnessing old characters to be used within the game, I thought it would be kind of an interesting thing to look back at how they were depicted during the era they were actually active. Well, one thing you certainly cannot say about the SmackDown series, the WWE 2K series, is that they lack for glitz. As you could see, obviously, way more effort put into the entrances in the newer games as opposed to, say, an entry like WWF Warzone. I don't even know if it was technical limitations that kept them from doing something like that, because obviously they were able to do something a little bit better in their follow-up for Attitude. They had whole entrances. In fact, you could even create whole arenas for the most part. Of course, you couldn't save them, but that's a whole other issue entirely. Bret Hart, as you can see, looks pretty much the same in both corners. And honestly, there's nothing really wrong with that. Though I do see Tony Chimmel there when it should be Howard Finkel. And I do like that WWE 13 really kept things broadcast perfect. Like with that WWF Championship little thing that would always go on. And of course, here's this title match, pre-match thing that has been in the WWE games since at least SmackDown vs. Raw 2007. It's fine. Wish they had a little bit more variety, but it's fine. I don't really see anything particularly wrong with it. Let's see, can I synchronize the bell rings here? More or less. And now here, what you're really going to see is really how different things were back in 1997, 1998. As far as maybe not necessarily, maybe a little bit of technology, but really more so in development and how different these games were. As many people know, Warzone was made by Acclaim, and it was kind of an unusual beast. You already had games such as WCW vs. the World, which had a much more simplified control scheme, whereas Warzone had something akin to, say, Tekken, as it's famously compared with, where you had to actually input like a combination of buttons, and then your move would get pulled off. And let me tell you, during that, because of that aspect, playing Warzone is really kind of a bit of a chore. It's fun in that, oh wow, this is how things used to be kind of way. But there's another thing about Warzone's development that's really should be said. Or the gameplay, the game mechanics. If you do pull off the same move over and over again, you start to lose momentum, and your moves become less impactful. The crowd starts booing, you become less likely to win. Crowd support is very important in Warzone. And unfortunately, with the nature of the gameplay, it's very easy to fall into that trap. You just gotta try to remember enough combinations to just kind of rotate them around, and hopefully, you can pull out a victory. Obviously, we've made major strides as far as gameplay when it came to games like WWE13, which, to be honest, I really do like. I really like it. I started out as a really huge detractor of the SmackDown series, and I'm definitely going to make some videos about them. But really, I've really gotten to like them. I still hate the WWE series, the Ukes Games series' strike mechanics. I was always a fan of the Aki engine as far as the strikes, among other things. And one of the big things about the Aki engine is like when you hit them in the beginning, and they'll just kind of sell it. They'll nod their head or whatever. But eventually, you'll start knocking them down, and if you use powerful enough strikes, eventually you could just knock them out for a 10 count knockout thing with the strike. And I really love that mechanic, and I think that's lost. Who knows what's going to be done with WWE 2K14 when that comes out. As, of course, as everyone knows by now, THQ is dead as sin. And I can't say that I don't get a little bit of satisfaction out of that, because I do. As mostly an Aki and a Fire Pro mark, I do get a little bit of satisfaction, even though I have enjoyed some of the later games. Well, I really don't know what else to say. I really don't know. I really haven't been researching about 2K14 because, quite frankly, I just got everything I needed with WWE 13 here. And I'm not even sure I'm going to get 2K14. But anyway, the point of the matter is this. The SmackDown series always had like its own set responses to strikes. And that's always bothered me, and that's stayed the same throughout the series. Sure, they've added strong strikes that knock you down. But it's just not the same, and it's a little bit worse than my beloved Aki series. Of course, in WWE13, you also have, in its story mode, you have these objectives to obtain that I guess are supposed to make you reminisce about the actual matches themselves. And it looks like we've activated one perhaps right here. And yes, we have. So that's why we are transferring over to full screen of Warzone to complete this matchup. In WWE 13, we have gone through and satisfied all the necessary conditions. However, Warzone was just pretty much a straight-up game. No such goals. You had your energy bars there, which started at green and then faded down to red, going through yellow and whatnot. And as I said before, it's all indicative on how it's all determined. Your strength, your impact is all determined based on how the crowd is responding to you, which is an interesting mechanic. It's an interesting mechanic, but I don't think that should be the be-all, end-all. And I talked a lot about strikes in WWE 13, and honestly, strikes in Warzone here, not that different. Honestly, during this time, WCW had the much better games. The WCW versus the World Tour, really a bunch of great games. Of course, there are very huge exceptions, such as Nitro and the infamous Thunder. But that's neither here nor there. Now, we all know the story of what happened, and if you don't, here's a little rundown. Basically, Brett was about to get out of his contract. He didn't want to drop the belt in Canada to Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels pulled some maneuverings, and, what we see here is the result. Well, anyways, you're going to see more of the actual, well, more or less of the historical significance of it once pardon me, WWE13 comes back onto the screen. But right now, we're just finishing this Warzone matchup. A big problem with the Warzone is that everybody seems to be pretty robotically. And actually, there was quite a bit of motion capture used in the production of this game. Now, whoever did the motion capture, that's kind of up in the air. I have no idea who was responsible for this. I've heard the Hardy Boys, and I've also heard Just Incredible, a.k.a. Aldo Montoya, at the time. And honestly, I really don't know. But I was damn close to finding out. In 1999, I was the host of a public access professional wrestling show called Shockwave Wrestling. It was local to Connecticut. And luckily for me, I mean, there are wrestlers who reside in Connecticut. One of which was, of course, Just Incredible. He called up the show. I'll put up a clip on the Sledgecore Productions channel at some point, and then perhaps I'll link to it here whenever that's done. But he called the show, and we set up an interview. I got his number. I called him up, and the day the interview was supposed to happen, the day he was supposed to come down to the studio for the show, he called up and said that he couldn't do something because his mother got sick or something. I don't know if that's actually true. Gotta love the Ring Girls. Big fan of the Ring Girls. And hey, look at this. Bret Hart wins the IC Championship belt. That wasn't at all what was supposed to happen. All right, here we go with the cutscene from WWE13 showing pretty much what happened, more or less. Of course, WWE loves to take liberties with the history, you know, retconning things. Was Vince showing Shawn the spit on his face? He was like, hey, look at this.
Michaels has become WWE champion, and Bret Hart stands in total disbelief.
Oh, yeah, and he played as Shawn for that match. Yay. Well, anyways, thank you very much. Why don't you check out the rest of these videos that we have up here in the Pete and Chris Amusements Network, and we'll see you soon again on PRIXEL DERP.